2,
working this time. All right, so we got the factored form of the polynomials on top and bottom. Remember, the numerator wouldn't factor, so now we're just going to look for the domain. So what are we going to do with all those factors of the denominator? Set them equal to 0. So this one's got x can't be 0, x can't be -7, x can't be positive 2. So that's an ugly okay, so interval notation for that, from -infinity up to -7, union with -7 up to 0, union from 0 to 2, union from 2 to infinity, all that. So that's a pretty ugly domain piece there, but not too bad. The next thing to deal with is your asymptotes. And since nothing canceled out, we didn't lose any of our vertical asymptotes. We're going to have vertical asymptotes at x equals 0, x equals -7, and x equals 2. We got 3 of them in this particular rational function. Those are your vertical asymptotes for this one. Now, we need to decide about horizontal or oblique. Remember, they don't occur together, so which one is this one going to be? All right, and if the numerator is less than the denominator, what is the horizontal asymptote? Y equals 0, yeah. Good job. And that means that the oblique is none, non-existent. It does not have an oblique asymptote. Remember, horizontals and obliques don't exist together. Okay. All right. So yeah, you should be able to find restrictions and domains, and if there are no restrictions on the domain, then there won't be any vertical asymptotes. But if there's a restriction on the domain, like some things that x can't be in the denominator, then there's going to be vertical asymptotes based off of that. All right, let's look at last example here. We've got 8x squared plus 26x minus 7 over 4x minus 1. So we've got a nice little polynomial up top. It's quadratic, and then a linear piece in the bottom. So it's still a rational one. It's not quite as complicated, seemingly, as the others. We're still going to do the same things, though. Got the domain, our vertical asymptotes, vertical, horizontal, or oblique. Spell oblique. All right. So, does that numerator factor? Multiply to be -56 and add to be 26. I don't know anything that does that. Let's see. 28 times 2, maybe. -56. Add to be 26 would be 28 and -2. So 8x squared plus 28x minus 2x minus 7. So you'd pull out a 4x, excuse me, and that'd leave you 2x minus 7. Plus 7. And then a -1. And that turns to 2x plus 7. So the factors for the numerator are 4x minus 1 and 2x plus 7 over 4x minus 1. That's what's going to happen, but we can't cancel it yet. That is right. That is what's going to happen, but we cannot cancel it yet. Okay. Cannot cancel it yet. All right. Now, we got to find our domain first. And the factored form, of the denominator helps us find that it's already factored. It wasn't any factor to do in the denominator. So the domain you're going to do before you simplify. So Hunter said, does the 4x minus 1 cancel out? Yeah, it's going to. But you have to find your domain first. before you cancel it out. All right, so domain is going to be x cannot be what? 1/4, right? If I solve 4x minus 1 equals 0, it should be 1/4. So we know that that's going to be what we're jumping over in our, so x does not equal 1/4. Bless you. And then, so that's negative infinity up to 1/4 union 1/4 to infinity. So there's our domain in both forms. There, my union symbol looked a little goofy there, so let's fix that. There you go. Now, the vertical asymptote here, because the 4x minus 1 in our factored forms is going to cancel out, then we don't have a vertical asymptote because it canceled out. Domain is found before you simplify. All your asymptotes can be found after you simplify. Okay. All right, so vertical asymptote, none. Okay. This is an exceptional one. I wanted to do this one because it is a little bit different than the rest of them. Well, let's look at the original problem. Would there be a horizontal on this one? Got x squared over an x. No, not a horizontal because the degree of the top's, yeah. What would the oblique be? Right, so you could do long division to get it, or look what our what's left over. That's what you're going to get when you do the long division for that one. Is the y equals 2x plus 7. So we get a little break on that one. Don't have to do the long division of the original problem because the factoring that happened there turns out that's the oblique asymptote for this one. And so there are some times when that special things are going to happen like that. So I try to do an exceptional one with this. So that's kind of the idea. All right. What we need is what we need to work on. And that would be here. Page 343. 13 through 54. You can do the odd ones if you want to, get you started on those and get that done. If it asks you to graph it, I mean, I'm just asking you to look at the graph, but really on your graphic calculator. I'm not, to draw a graph out of it. But think about the things that you need to find about the graph, the domain, asymptotes, vertical, horizontal, oblique, all of those things. If it says graph it, look at the graph on your calculator. I'm not asking you to draw the graph, but also think about these same things we've been finding for all of these. Okay, that's what you need to, I guess, mainly focus on.